these in the order that the gamete would come across them. Now, this is written basically the opposites, so we're roughly going to cover it starting with ovaries at the very bottom and working our way up. Okay, I don't know why these things are super out of order, but I didn't write it, so it happens. So I apologize if you get lost when I'm jumping around between these. If you do, just let me know, and I'll back up a little bit and make sure that everyone's on the same page. Okay? I'm going to show you a few different views because we only have a few models that actually show all the ligaments, and this is a model that we actually do have. The model that we have that looks like this is right here. Okay? This is the only one that shows the majority of the ligaments, and it's the only one with the broad ligament, which is the sheet. Okay? For the other ones, they have some of the ligaments, but not all of them. I'll kind of discuss that in a little bit more detail, but I'm actually going to end up going over the structures on this model, and then we're going to flip to the model that looks like the models that we have and discuss kind of the same structures again. Okay, so I apologize for the redundancy, but they look very different, so I think it warrants going over them twice. We'll just do this one a little bit quicker. All right, so to start, we'll start here in the ovary, which is on either side, paired system. And then leading from the ovary is the uterine tube. You'll see that there's fingers, kind of looking things, that cover the ovary. Those are the fimbriae. So just think fimbriae fingers. The first portion of the uterine tube, right after the fimbriae, is called the infundibulum. That's right here. And then we go through the uterine tube and get to the uterus. The top bump of the uterus is called the fundus. Here. The main section is called the body. And the portion of the uterus right here that kind of sticks down into the vagina is the cervix. You can see the walls of the vagina actually coming up on either side. That's like the official cutoff line. So the cervix is everything below that. Now within the uterus, we also need to identify the layers. So the innermost layer is the endometrium, and that really thick muscular layer is the myometrium. So it follows the same categorical names that we just talked about when we talked about the histology of it. The placenta isn't something I'll be showing on the slides. I'll get to that at the very end. It's on one of our models only because obviously there's no placenta present unless the uterus is in use and the female is pregnant. Okay? So I'll show you where that is on that one model in a moment, but we'll skip it for now. All right, so from here we then get to the vagina. Now, I'm going to cover the ligaments next. I'm going to point all of them out, but there's actually one that isn't present on any of the models, but is listed on your sheet. So we're going to do a little bit of rearranging here when we get to them. But I'll start with the broad ligament first, and that's this sheet-like ligament that you see coming off of the uterus. It's going to be on the other side too, so all of these ligaments are going to be paired. So it basically just looks like a huge sheet laying over the uterus. And then we have the round ligament, which comes out right here. It's going to be in a slightly different place when we, where's that other arrow? We're going to see it in a slightly different place when we look at it in the models, but I'll point it out again. Basically, it's the one that you see coming and sticking out of the sheet. On the model, it looks like this. And then we have the ovarian ligament, and the ovarian ligament you can see here, it's the ligament that attaches the ovary to the uterus. It's just that little chunk there. Now the last one we have is the suspensory ligament, and here you can see the suspensory ligament comes off of the ovary and actually suspends from the ovary. This isn't present in the models. Alright, so if you look at the sheet with me, you'll notice that there's no suspensory ligament for the cat, but you do need to know suspensory ligament for the model. We're going to switch those two. You can actually see the suspensory ligament very well in the cat dissection, whereas we don't even have it present in our models. So cross it off for the model and add it to the cats. Alright? Okay, so now we're going to switch views. And we're going to go over it in this system. Just to draw your attention to one section real quick, the section that I'm circling right now with the pointer, I have a picture of this section zoomed in because there's kind of a lot going on right here. So that's what we're going to be focusing on first. Okay. Just a quick note for comparison, this is what you would see on our models, because it actually has this piece here that sits on top, so it's a paired system. This is what it looks like without it, and now we're going to zoom into this area here to really focus in on that ovary to uterus section. Okay, so really big, I know. So first we'll start here, and this is our ovary. And covering the ovary is the fimbriae. So you can see these finger-like projections. Those are the fimbriae. And then we have the infundibulum. So infundibulum we'd pin, it's basically the red, just the start of the uterine tube. So ideally we'd put a sticker right there. And then we have the uterine tube. And remember that the uterine tube can go by many names. I will accept uterine tube, fallopian tube, and oviduct. Alright? Alright, so then that leads to the uterus. Here's the uterus, and this is how it lays in situ. So it kind of lays anterior. Okay, here's the bladder underneath it. Here you can see the rectum in the background. So you can see it's laying anteriorly. This top portion here would be the fundus. Then we have the body, and just barely we can see the cervix at the very end. Now for this one, the pink and red layers we'll call the endometrium. So those colored layers, endometrium. And then the lighter tan and kind of reddish colors, those are the myometrium. So myometrium here, endometrium here. Alright, now for the ligaments, again, we don't have the broad ligament on this one, okay, so don't worry about it on this one. The only two that we can see are the round ligament and the ovarian ligament. Again, here's our ovary. So if you look here where it has that 28, there's a ligament that leads from the ovary to the uterus. That's the ovarian ligament. And the round ligament on this one hangs anteriorly like this. Okay, so it comes off of kind of the fundus or the top of the uterus. Right there. Alright, now we're going to switch views, and I'm actually going to have kind of like a side note moment real quick. So I'm sure you've noticed when you look at the body cavities like this, when you're looking at the male reproductive system, that there's other stuff that you could identify, right? We have, again, some circulatory vessels. We also have a chunk of the digestive system. I'm going to go over this real quick, just so everyone kind of knows what these parts are, but this is actually a better example of the digestive system in this region than a lot of our models show, okay? This area here is actually the sigmoid colon, all the way down to here. So this whole loop is a sigmoid colon. And after that, we have the rectum and the anal canal at the very bottom. So note that those three structures of the digestive system are actually better observed in the reproductive system models. Okay, so we might, or potentially we could put stickers there as well. Okay, so finishing up here, again, we just talked about the uterus, the cervix we see here, leading down into the vagina. Then we have the labia minora and labia majora. So the minora is the smaller one, majora is the larger one. Make sure I get that right. And then tucked up here, right by the labia minora, is the clitoris. So it's just in that anterior most portion of the labia minora. And then last we have the mons pubis, which you can see here is basically the fat in front of the pubic bone. So we'd sticker it either here on the side or like on the front of the model. We could put a sticker like right on the front. Okay? And that's mons pubis. And make sure I've covered everything. I have. Okay, yes, Yoko.
What was the myometrium again?
The myometrium is the muscle in the uterus. So if we zoom in again, you can see the muscles right here.
So the tan and yellow?
The tan and it's kind of like a red color. Yes. Any other questions? Okay, so one more last bit. We have the breast model at the very end, which has 3 of these.